It's Bisan from Gaza and I'm Still Alive has won international recognition in the form of an Emmy win earlier this week. Of course, obviously, Bisan herself was unable to join the celebration of her work, but the award was accepted by the Al Jazeera team, who took the opportunity to commemorate the numerous Al Jazeera journalists that have been murdered by Israel in recent years.
The nominees in Outstanding Hard News Feature Story Short Form are Clarissa Ward reports from Rafah Field Hospital in Gaza, CNN. Haiti in Crisis, PBS NewsHour, PBS. How I Survive, A 7-Year-Old's Life in Gaza, The Guardian Focus, The Guardian. I Cry Quietly, A Soldier Describes the Toll of Russia's War, The New York Times. It's Bisan from Gaza and I'm Still Alive, AJ Plus reports, AJ Plus.
And the Emmy Award goes to It's Bisan from Gaza and I'm Still Alive, AJ Plus. AJ Plus reports.
Accepting the Emmy, John Lawrence, Senior Executive Producer.
The carpet bombings happened in the streets without any warning, and people are killed every single moment. This is a really tough day that Gaza are going through. They bombed the door of the hospital. They bombed. I've been there before 2 minutes.
We'd like to thank the Academy for this recognition. This award is testimony to the power of one woman, armed only with an iPhone, who survived almost a year of bombardment. Over 100 Palestinian journalists have been killed in Gaza, including several of our Al Jazeera colleagues. Our bureau in the occupied West Bank was shut down at gunpoint just last week. We thank you, our journalistic community, for this recognition for Bisan and for the AJ Plus team, and we urge you to join us in saying that journalism is not a crime. Thank you so much.
Bisan is a 27-year-old woman who has lost her home. She's lost her livelihood. She's lost family and friends. She spent the last 11 months trying to basically just survive. And in spite of all this, she's continued to use her voice to tell the stories of Gaza to the world. Nobody would dare to deny that she deserves some sort of recognition for that, right? Wrong. Despite the decision makers behind the Emmys already confirming that Bisan's nomination had no tangible grounds for being withdrawn, attorney and executive director of the so-called Creative Community for Peace, Ari Engel, released a statement after the win in which he once again chose to slander Bisan. Speaking on behalf of the group, which consists of a lot of Hollywood producers, actors, the likes of Deborah Messing and Mayim Balik, Ari referred to the night of Bisan's win as being a sad day for journalism. There have been plenty of sad days for journalism in recent months, but I don't think that the night that Bisan won her Emmy is one of them. September the 25th was a sad day for journalism when Abdullah Shakshak was killed by an Israeli quadcopter. August 26th was a sad day when Meda Halimi was killed in an Israeli airstrike. August the 20th was also a sad day when Hamza Abdul Rahman Murtaja was killed in an Israeli airstrike on a school. In fact, there have been more than 100 sad days for journalism since October the 7th. 173 journalists have been killed in Israeli attacks on Gaza since October 7th. Israeli targeting of journalists in the Gaza Strip is so aggressive that the International Federation of Journalists said that the mortality rate for media workers in Gaza is over 10%. And 75% of all journalists killed in 2023 were killed in Gaza between October 7th and the end of last year. As small a gesture as it might seem when you're experiencing what Bisan is experiencing right now, the recognition of her work, and particularly to a US audience, does feel like some sort of step in the right direction. Brandon, I wanted to get your thoughts on this. Do you feel as though the wider media world over there is starting to open up to Palestinian and pro-Palestinian voices, like at least more than maybe it has until now?
Yes and no. I think it depends on the way you want to look at it. Definitely in terms of new media, it has, and recognition. Definitely, like 2 years ago, you couldn't have imagined a documentary or a film like this getting any recognition, despite the fact that this was largely still going on in the area. People kind of just overlooked it, and I think from really these really actions being you can't ignore them anymore, and that has allowed kind of this avenue for independent journalists, reporters, channels like myself, like yours, like in new media online, to kind of cover and give it more of a forefront in terms of showing it to people. There's more of an audience ready to receive it. Now, not to be the bearer of bad news, so to speak, but there still is, when you're talking about mainstream media, there still is largely either ignoring it or a pushback, kind of as you spoke to, where they're already trying to discredit this film because it won an award. And a lot of the reporting you see from these mainstream media outlets have more to do with what this group is saying about the documentary than the documentary itself. Things like Gaza have largely fallen out of the media cycle here in terms of like CNN, MSNBC. They're just not really covering it in the same. So it's kind of like old media, mainstream media versus new media. But yes, it definitely is a step in the right direction in terms of it's finally getting the recognition that it's needed in the decades that this has been going on.
I remember, I think, was it the award win for what was the film? The film that was the something zone. The Zone of Interest a few months back, where the awards acceptance speech, they made comments around like Gaza and Palestine, and it was completely, was it booed? It was really poorly received by the people in the crowd at the time.
Yeah, and there's I don't keep up with all the award shows, but there was one recently, one of the big ones that they do, where everyone who came out and gave a speech, like, or just even said Free Palestine, that mentioned Gaza, that they were booed. And it's just this kind of reception at a lot of colleges. There's speakers giving commencement speeches who want to mention Palestine. They're either not allowed to give those speeches, or they've directly been told, hey, you're not allowed to mention this. So there still kind of is that suppression going on at the same time when it's still managing to break through.
I think that's something that we'll start to touch on a little bit later as well, when we start talking through a little bit more of what's happening from Biden's side, especially with what's happening in Lebanon. It does feel like we're starting to get this disconnect now of it's either silence or people are aware of the kind of hypocrisy of what we're seeing. But I think we will jump into that when we go into that part in just a little bit. Thank you very much, Brandon. Now, before we do move into the next topic, I noticed when looking at a lot of the coverage of Bisan winning this Emmy, a number of publications covering the story haven't actually included Bisan's words on the statement, around her win. So I do want to share them here. In a press release that was shared by Al Jazeera, Bisan's statement was shared, and she said, "We all know the truth, but our fear undermines our ability to say it out loud and sometimes even drives us to hide it. But remember that a world without colonialism is a world without fear, and that truth is the only way we can be free from fear."
Patreon.com, Turn Left Media. Support independent media. Support social justice that's there on social media. Thank you, Turn Left.